Alright, we're going to go over page 14 and 15 next in your yellow packet. So this page on the screen is page 14 in your yellow packet, so it should be in front of you with a pencil. This simplifying expressions sheet should have been a little bit easier for you than page 13. So 13 was challenging and hard and probably took longer. Page 14 was probably a walk in the park compared to that. So let's go over these together. Let's start with number 1. We have 10x plus 3y plus 5x. So I'm going to start with circling my first expression, which is 10x. And I'm going to see if there are any other x's in this expression, and yes, there is one. If I add 10x plus 5x, then I get 15x. And there is just one 3y. There's no other expression to add. So it's going to be plus 3y. So your answer for number 1 should be 15x plus 3y. Number 2, we have 2x squared plus 7y plus 4x plus 6x squared. I'm going to circle my first expression, which is 2x squared. I'm going to see if there are any other x squareds in this expression. I see a y, I see just an x, and I also see 6x squared. So I'm going to add my two coefficients together, which is 6 and 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. And my variable and exponent is x squared. Okay, then I'm going to change my color and circle my next term, which is a plus 7y. I don't see any other y's in this expression, so I'm just going to keep it the same. So it becomes plus 7y. And then my last term is my 4x. There's only one 4x here, there's no other x's to add, so it's just going to be plus 4x. So your final answer, simplified terms, should be 8x squared plus 7y plus 4x. Number 3. For this one, I'm going to type it just to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to try it this time. 9y plus 3y plus 5x. So I see two y's here together that I'm going to combine, and if I combine them, I get 12y. And that leaves me a plus 5x because there are no other x's. So my simplified expression should be 12y plus 5x. Number 4, I have 2y squared plus 7y plus 4y plus 6y squared. So I have all y's as my variables. But remember, I can only combine terms that have the same variables and same exponents. So I see a 2y squared and I see a 6y squared. I cannot combine the 4 and the 7. I can't combine them all together. I can only combine like terms. So 6 and 2 are my two coefficients. If I add them together, I get 8, and then there are 8y squareds. I see two 7y's, I see a 7y and I see a 4y, which are both alike, so I'm going to circle them and add them together. 7 plus 4 is 11. So my final answer for number 4 should be 8y squared plus 11y. Okay, number 5, we have 8x plus y minus 2x. So if I take a look here, I see there are two x's. Now this time I have a minus 2x. So I need to take my 8 and subtract my 2 because there's a minus sign in front of my 2, my coefficient. So 8 minus 2 gets me 6x. And there's just one single y left over, so my answer should be 6x plus y. Okay. Number 6, we have x squared plus 7y minus 4y plus 9x squared. So I'm going to circle my first term, which is x squared. And I notice that there is another 9x squareds, and it's positive. So I'm going to add 9 plus my 1, which gets me to 10. And my variable and exponent is x squared. Okay, my next term is y, 7y, a positive 7y, and then I see a negative or minus 4y. So I'm going to take 7y's minus 4y's, which gets me positive 3y's. So your final answer for number 6 should be 10x squared plus 3y. Number 7, I have 14x minus 3x plus 2y minus y plus 3x. So I see x and y's are my variables. I'm going to combine all my x's together and all of my y's together. So I have 14x. I have, and I'll write this, I'm going to write it over here. So I have a 14x, I have a negative 3x, and I have a positive 3x. Now, a negative 3 and a positive 3 added together, that would cancel each other out, and that would make 0x. Because if I take a negative 3 and I add up 3, it gets me to 0. So that means I'm going to combine those two, and that makes 14x plus 0x, which just gives me 14x. So 14x are all my combined x's, and then I have a 2y minus a 1y, which gets me a positive 1y. And I can just write it as the letter y. I don't need to write the number 1 in front of it, because it just goes without saying that means the 1 is the coefficient. So my answer for number 7 is 14x plus y. Number 8, I have 5y squared plus 5y plus 5y plus 5x squared. So I have a y squared, I have y's, and I have x squared. So I'm going to have 3 separate terms in my answer. So I see there's one 5y squared, but I don't see any other y squareds in this expression. So that little 5y squared, it's going to stay all by itself as my simplified. It's already in its simplest form. It can't be added or subtracted with any other y squareds. I'm going to change my color and go to my next term, 5y and a 5y. If I add those two together, 5 plus 5, simple is simple, that gets me to 10. 10y. And then I have a little 5x squared all by itself. There are no other 5x squareds in this expression, so it just stays the same as plus 5x squared. And there we go. That's our simplest form. Number 9, I have a larger coefficient. I have 23x plus 3y minus 5x. So now I'm going to take my x's and subtract 23 minus 5. If I do 23 minus 5, that gets me to 18x. And then I'm going to add my single 3y because there are no other y's to add or subtract together. So my simplified term for number 9 is 18x plus 3y. And then my last one, question number 10 for page 14, is 18x squared plus 3y plus x plus 6x squared. I have an x squared, I have a y, I have an x, and another x squared. So there's going to be 3 separate terms in my simplified expression answer. So I'm going to start with the x squared. I have an 18x squared and I have a 6x squared. They're both positive, so I'm going to add them together, which makes 24x squared. Then I have a plus 3y and a plus x left, and they're not the same term. They're both different. This ends with a y and this ends with an x, so they can't be combined, which means I'm going to have 2 separate terms here. Plus 3y plus, I'll change my color for my last one, plus my lonely x all by itself because there's nothing else to add it to. So my final answer for number 10 should be 24x squared plus 3y plus x. And that is page 14. Let's move on to page 15, which practiced the distributive property. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this later today and tomorrow, but I wanted to see how you did with page 15 without really any direction or teaching. So let's go over these answers together. If you had no idea what to do for these, that's okay. When I see a number over here on the outside of a parentheses, I'm going to automatically assume that that number needs to be multiplied by every number or term inside of the parentheses. Now, normally what we do with order of operations is we add the 2 terms together first, and then we multiply. But because we're dealing with variables or numbers, we can't do that. We can't just combine A and 8 to make A8. It doesn't work that way. They're 2 separate. We can't combine a number with a variable without distributing it first. So here we go. We're going to distribute the 6. I'm going to multiply it to the A, and I'm going to multiply it to the 8. And I'm going to have 2 separate terms. 6 multiplied by A gets me 6A. And 6 multiplied by 8 gets me 48. Now to combine these terms, I'm going to look at whatever operation I have in the middle here, and I see a plus sign. So I'm going to keep that the same. So my answer would be 6a plus 48 for number 1. Number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at my 4 here on the outside of my parentheses. I'm going to distribute it to the 1, and I'm going to multiply. And I'll distribute it to the 9x, and I'm going to multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 9x is 36x. And then I'm going to keep this operation, circle that, whoop, and that goes in the middle. So my answer is 4 plus 36x for number 2. For number 3, it looks a little bit different, but we're still doing the same thing. We're still going to multiply 2 by whatever is inside my parentheses. So I'm going to take my 2 over here, and I'm going to distribute it to my 10 first, and then I'll distribute it to my 9m second. So 10 times 2 is 20. Plus, because I see a plus sign here, what's 9 times 2 is 18, plus my variable m stays the same. So your answer should be 18m plus 20, or 20 plus 18m. Number 4, I now have 1, 2, 3 terms that I'm going to distribute the number 3 to, so I have to multiply it 3 times. So here we go. I'm going to multiply my 3 times my 2, which is 6x. My next symbol is a plus sign. I'm going to distribute my 3 to my whole 4y. 4 times 3 is 12. Y stays the same. And then I'm going to distribute it to my negative 15 or minus 15. So if I multiply a negative times a positive, it stays a negative. So 15 times 3 is 45, and my negative stays the same. And then my letter or my variable z also stays the same. So your final answer for number 4 should have been 6x plus 12y minus 45z. And that was the answer for number 4. I'm going to go down through, and I'm going to give you the letter answers through all the way down from numbers 5 to 11. And then if we have time, I'll quickly go over number 12 as well. Number 15, it did not print the other side of the rectangle. So you do not have to do 15. If you left it blank or you didn't know what to do, you just made a guess, cross it off. Number 15 we're going to skip. So here we go. Number 5, you should have gotten for your answer for number 5, letter G. Letter G. Number 6, you should have had letter C. Number 7, you should have had letter I. Number 8, you should have had letter E. Number 9, you should have had letter D. Number 10, you should have had letter H. And number 11, you should have had letter A. Those were all of the equivalent or equal expressions from numbers 5 to 11. And the last one for number 12 is, it says to find the perimeter using these expressions. So if we remember, perimeter is when we add up all of the sides. We have a rectangle here. So that means this parallel side is going to also be x plus 3. And this side over here is also going to be 2x minus 1. And now what I'm going to do is add all 4 of these together. So I'm going to take my 2x's here and add them together, which makes 2x plus 6. And then I'm going to add them together with the other 2 sides. So my 2x plus my 2x is 4x. Plus negative 1 plus negative 1 is minus 2 or negative 2. And now I'm going to simplify it one more time. Combine my x's together. 2x plus 4x is 6x. And then I'm going to take 6 minus 2, or 6 plus negative 2, which gets me plus 4. So if you had that correct for number 12, awesome job. That was definitely a challenge problem for page 15. So those are all of your answers for pages 14 and 15. You're going to fill out a quick reflection sheet about how you felt about these problems before you meet with me for our Zoom.